Kara Sprinkle, and here's my video. Here's the whole cell cycle, and the purpose of the cell cycle is turning one parent cell into two daughter cells. It's used for growth from a single cell into a multicellular organism, reproduction, and repairs old cells. The first stage is interphase, and it's divided into 3 stages. According to study.com, G1 stage is the first stage of interphase, and it is when the cell grows and organelles are copied and molecular building blocks are created. During the S phase, the cell synthesizes a complete copy of the DNA that is in the nucleus, and it also duplicates the cytosol. After the S phase is the G2 phase, and this is when the cell grows more, makes proteins and organelles, and begins to reorganize its contents, preparing for mitosis. Now, there are 2 main checkpoints within interphase that has to happen before it moves on to mitosis. The first checkpoint is during G1, and is the primary checkpoint of the cell cycle. It checks for cell size, nutrients, growth, and any DNA damage. The second checkpoint that takes place during interphase is called the G2 checkpoint because it takes place in the G2 phase, and it checks for any DNA damage and makes sure that the DNA replication is complete. It should be mentioned that if any cells doesn't complete or go through any of these checkpoints from the G1 checkpoint and the G2 checkpoint, it gets sent back to the G0, also known as a resting place, where it either stays forever or it gets fixed and goes back through interphase. According to Khan Academy, the early prophase of the cell cycle is when the mitotic spindle starts to form, chromosomes condense, nuclear envelope fragments, and the nucleus is disappearing. This is the late prophase. During this phase, chromosomes are fully condensed, the nuclear envelope breaks down, and there is no nucleus. The next phase is metaphase, and this is when the chromosomes are all lined up along the cell equator. According to our textbook, it's during the metaphase stage that another checkpoint takes place that's called the spindle checkpoint. And it is checking to make sure that all the sister chromatids are attached correctly to the spindles. The next phase is anaphase, and this is when the sister chromatids separate and are pulled to opposite ends of the cell. The next phase is telophase. According to nature.com, this is when the spindle disappears, nucleus reappears, the nucleus membrane is starting to reform, and chromosomes decondense. And the last phase is cytokinesis. This is when the cell membrane pitches in at the cell equator, forming a cleft called the cleavage furrow. And this is when 2 new daughter cells are formed from the one parent cell.